Hey there, welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about something important in Kubernetes that is called Readiness Probe. We'll learn what happens when something goes wrong with the Readiness Probe and how it affects the system. Also, we see the Readiness Probe in the Kube proxy, how it affects the services, how it's going to affect the traffic in the Kubernetes. Okay, and at the end, we're going to a bit check the source of the Kubernetes for the endpoint and endpoint slice. But let's going to check the documentation for the readiness probe. Let me find it. Okay, here we can see that the kubelet use readiness probe to know when a container is ready to start accepting traffic. So when a pod is not ready, it's removed from the service load balancer. Let's check my example here. Here we can see that I have a manifest here, 2 pods. I'm using the busybox, but one of them point to the readiness true for the prop. It's just with the shell command and exit through, and the other one with the exit 1 to say that it's a readiness false. Also, I have a service here. This service looking for the pod with the label app my app. So here I have a label my app and label my app here too. So this service is point to these 2 pods. Let's check and apply these changes. We know that the service is actually connected to the endpoint. Let me first get maybe, can I do the wait here? Yeah, and also get the endpoint and maybe the endpoint slice because it's a new version of the endpoints. I'm going to talk about it later. So first I'm going to apply the file to the namespace of the test. So if we check the pod here, get pod, okay, it's not ready yet. But can you see here? Yes, when the one of them is running, the endpoint added to the endpoints. But here we can see that it's a bit different. It's going to add both of them here. That's interesting. Here is created one service, so we know that the service actually point to the endpoints, the endpoint here, and if we check the documentation, the endpoint slice is actually a new version of the endpoint. But let's check here. Let's check the documentation to see the endpoints. I want to show that how we can check this stuff. Here we have endpoint slice. It said that the new version of the endpoint, but there is a compare between them. It's going to say that to handle more traffic, they create the endpoint slice. Before that, it's stayed in the object, but now in the single object, but now we have an endpoints object. What does it mean? It's here we can see that, okay, the endpoint is going to one endpoint, but if we have a 2 endpoint, it's going to say this IP, comma, the other IP, like here. But what's the difference? Why here we can see both of them? Because it's going to add the object. But we can check the codes, the Kubernetes. Okay, here we have I cloned the Kubernetes project. The left is an endpoint container and the right is endpoint slice container. But if we check here, we can see most of the part of the code are the same. If we see here the new controller, for example, let me show you something here. Like add pod, if we check add pod here, we can see that we have a same code here. I guess for the delete part we have same. But what's difference? Here we can see one of the difference. Add the endpoint subset. Also we have here on the endpoint, yes, here we can see that it's going to subsets and of the endpoint subset, then it's going to add the endpoint to this subset with the append. It's so simple. Here it's going to create an object of the endpoint slice and going to add the object to the endpoint slice. We can see here is actually object. Before that, if something not ready, so it's not going to add it to the endpoint. But to the endpoint slice, we can see both of them here. I can show it better with the describe. If I do the describe endpoint slice with the my service, it was the old one. I can use the new one here. So we can here now it's an object. So we have an endpoint with the address, with the zone, node name also, but with the condition ready false. Here we can see that the 12 112, it's already false. But the 11 one with the ready true. It's how it's working with the endpoint. But let's check the node with the Kube proxy, how the Kube proxy now changed the IP tables in the node. In the Minikube, we can do the Minikube SSH to SSH to the node. We can see it here. Now I can go to the IP tables with the table nat and with the label of the Kube services. I think so. That's what I Kube dash services. I explained this stuff and the tables, Kube proxy, how it's work in the other video. You can check my videos. But here I want to show you something. Okay, here we have a service IP. Now I check that it's going to show me the all services. I have a service with the 110.161. Yeah, here I can see that one. So we have something here with the rows. If I go to this one, do the same, but now with the other name label here, actually target. Okay, now I'm checking the rows of the service table. We can see here it's anywhere goes to the 111. If we check here 111, the ready one, actually the endpoint is the ready one. So we can see that here it's just point to the one of the path. So this object of the endpoint slice, it will not add here if the condition ready is false. But let's change the condition. Here I can go to the code again and change the exit one to the true. Let's check here. Okay, I'm going to change it to 0. But if I apply this one, it will not add it. Yeah, we can see here because I just can change one of those. But let's delete the pod readiness false, then I'm going to add it again. So it's actually interesting. We do the wait on the endpoint slice to see how it's going to remove it. And also I guess we can see that it's going to something happen on the endpoint too. Yes, it's changed on the endpoint, but nothing change happen. So actually the number of the request to the endpoint and the endpoint slice is kind of the same. But the only difference we can see that here for this context, just one of them is subset, the other one is object of the list. Let's see the, okay. Here we can see that because it's deleted, so it's just one update, but here actually 2 times change. That's one of the interesting points. So there's a one more request here. And also we can see that nothing changed with the IP table. Let's apply the pod with the readiness. Now if I do the get pod here, okay, now it's changed here. It's going to add the 13 one here, but now 13 is running, so the difference, we have a 2 running here now. 13 ready, 11 ready, so now we have a both ready. And here we can see that now the change, we can see the change here. It's just add one more endpoint here. But let's check the route table. I call the same, but now we have something change here. There is a test my service, this IP and this IP. And we can see that we have a probability of the 50% between these two. So 50% of the request goes to the 11, 13, and the other 50 goes to the 13. So actually the endpoints is kind of going to add to the Kubernetes going to check the endpoint and add it to these tables. I'm going to say again, I'm explaining it in this more in the chart, how it's working, when it's going to add it, how the Kubernetes check the service, how the Kubernetes check the endpoints. I explain it in the other video. You can find a link. But yeah, that's a whole point that I plan to say here. That's we can see that how is the readiness probe is important. So it's if our application change the readiness probe to the false, we can see that it's going to change the IP route table. So we don't have any more traffic to our pods, to the specific pods. So it's so important when our code is not working, when our pod is not working, we are not to send a request to the pod. So it's help us to have a more healthy and more available website or pod or any other microservices that we have. So that's it. Thank you so much.